So basically, all right, here we go. And bear with me. I'm new to the PowerPoint thing, but I think I did a pretty good job. As most of you know, that Tuftonboro Fire Rescue is responsible for 51 square miles of land. 41 of those square miles are land and 9 are water. There are 51 islands in town, and 24 of which are habitable. So we have a pretty big responsibility of area to cover, and what's unique to us is we have such a wide range. You know, from here to the end of Tuftonboro Neck is 9 miles or so from here. We go all the way to Canaan Valley, and we have areas that we have to actually go into Ossipee on the backside of the Anhole Pond to access. So we are pretty, do have a wide variety of topography and terrain to cover. This is the first building, and that's how it looks today. Oops, excuse me. And this is in your handouts. There's handouts around for anybody that wants them that has more of a complete history in there and some good stuff. But this is our mission statement. I won't read that. It's in the book. Believe it or not, the department was established in 1938. Next year is 2018, and that's 80 years of service and pride that the Tuftonboro Fire Department has given to the community. It's quite a long haul, actually. All right, here it starts out. So basically, the Tuftonboro Civic Organization drafted a petition at its summer meeting in 1937 asking the selectmen to insert an article in the upcoming town meeting to establish a fire department in Tuftonboro. And how things evolved, the article evolved into an appointment of a committee to further develop the fire protection plan, which reported to a reconvening town meeting in April 1938. The committee recommended the sum of $8,000 to be raised, $5,000 for the purchase of a 1938 Maxim pumper, which is now a refurbished parade piece. We still have it in service. It's still an official town fire vehicle that we do take it out on occasion. So it's kind of nice to have. We saw it our very first fire truck. It was kind of fun. There was $2,000 for building a fire station in Melbourne Village, and that's adjacent to the old Melbourne Garage and the yellow property. And there was $1,000 for digging water holes, one in Hattie Straws on Tuftonboro Neck Road, and the other on the central school lot, which is currently next to the Tuftonboro Town Library. And that pond is still used as a water source for us today. We've revamped it over the years, but it's still in service. This is an article from May 7th of 1948. It shows the 1938 Maxim parked in front of the original fire station. So the original fire station was actually built by a well-known area builder, Eddie Hodgson. And they had the foresight to put in a second floor where the members at the time could live, and they could respond with a fire truck at night. If a call came in, the phone rang, they got the truck going, and everybody else followed. Some of the occupants over the years were those gentlemen. And it's believed that the station was occupied until approximately 1956 or 1957. Then they stopped occupying the second floor. My understanding was the original door was designed for one truck, and the stairs to go upstairs are right inside that door. And after they got their second truck, about this time, they moved the stairs out back.
Jackie, how old is Tommy Page?
He's a few years older than me.
So in 56, he wouldn't have been old enough to be staying there, would he?
No.
So it might have been even more recent than that.
That was just what I was told.
I think Del Haley was the last one to be there.
Yeah, that's not any sort of chronological order. That was just
Well,
the
no, but he's
state.
the youngest one on that list.
Yeah, I don't know why. The Pages lived right in Melbourne.
They lived in that yellow house.
Was his father named Tom? No, Bob.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And a lot of this, obviously this information came about the big book, but yeah, some of the information I did talk to, Bill Williams and things. And that's how the building looks today. It's been renovated many times over the years, but you can still tell that, it still looks like a firehouse from certain angles. You know, they did a pretty good job, I think, with kind of keeping the character of that building. And I guess when they originally bought the land to build it, I guess the gentleman next door in the yellow place donated the land, exactly enough land for the building. So they had to put in a well, so they had to buy land for a well. And I guess when they had to move the stairs, they had to buy a little more land to put the stairs in. So it's kind of funny. We keep repeating the past, but it's kind of cute, I thought.
Well, the yellow house that's next door now wasn't the same house. It's not the same house it was there when that was built.
Right,
Either.
but they said the gentleman donated enough postage stamp, just enough of the footprint, and then they kept having to buy a little more. Oh, excuse me. Say much. So this is the first piece of apparatus they bought when they appropriated the monies. It was delivered on November 7th, 1938, and the first meeting of the department was held that evening. Of course, we had to stand around with a new truck. And that first call received for a chimney fire at Ben Ferguson's on January 7th. Milton Bean was the first chief from 1938 to 1941. The next building the department built was the Mirror Lake Fire Station. It was built in 1960, and it was on land donated by the Roselle family. And it was rebuilt into the current three-bay configuration, and a second floor added in approximately 1986. And there's a picture of the builders when they were building that building. And a gentleman by the name of Roy Grace of Tamworth was the builder.
I see Del McIntyre and Sandy Dow. That's the only two I remember. Al Grevenstein. Second one from the left.
And that was when they first rebuilt it back in 1986. And you can see they added the third bay and the second floor. And that's how it looks today. The Belleville Village Fire Station was the next building they built, and that happened in 1965. And it was on land mostly donated by the Melvin's Men Club. And the plans were drawn up by a local fellow named Mort Williams, and he grew up in Spiderweb Gardens, which is now Spiderweb Gardens. I guess it was then too, actually. And this was the station that replaced the original 1938 building, which is across the street. And it looks like with the trees all gone, must have been after they recently finished it. And another shot over the years. And that's how it looks today. And this is the Central Fire Station. Almost everybody in the room was aware of the fact that, yeah, it was an ongoing discussion for a little over a decade or more on what to do to address the space needs of the department. Numerous committees had been formed, options were brought forward at various town meetings, and finally the Central Fire Station was approved by the town voters in March 2011, and the department moved into the new building, located here, on September of 2013, and that happened to be coincidentally the 75th anniversary of the department. So it's kind of a fitting, just really coincidence, but it worked out well. And that's just the newspaper clipping, and that was in the Grunter celebrating that. So the first real fire was at the Hillards Boathouse on April 9th, 1939, and it was a total loss, pretty much. The first fire at which the apparatus proved its worth was on May 5th, 1940, at Horners. I guess the fire was quickly extinguished by the use of a chemical extinguisher, and I guess that was vital because the people at the time thought if they would have lost that building, they would have lost a large section of Melbourne Village. So they felt this was the apparatus really proved its point. Proved its worth. This kind of shows a call for service over the years. I know you can't read the lower part that well, but so basically in 1985 there was a total of 139 calls. By 1994 we were at 225. 2001 there were 303 calls, jumping to 406 9 years later. In 2013, there was 454, and in 2016 was a milestone for the department and the town. We had a total of 501 calls for service. Unfortunately, 2017 is on pace to reach close to 600 calls. We're already at 498, and we still have a couple months to go. So it's been a busy year for all of us. But just the timeline shows a steady progression on calls for service. And that's how it's broken out, basically by areas and zip codes of town, by fire and EMS calls and island calls.
It would be interesting to have the comparison of population.
Yeah.
with those
Right.
numbers.
Right, and and it's across, it's systemic across the country as far as calls keep going up and up and up. And whether people are calling more now because they feel they're taught how call 911 for everything, or there's just that much need for us. I'm not sure, but we'll go over some apparatus through the years. This is our newest large engine, Engine 1, located on Union Wharf at Sunset. The iconic silhouette of our deputy on the top. So basically, this will be the apparatus over the years. This is the very first truck. There has been other apparatus over the years that we didn't get pictures of, or there are just not pictures available. And quite frankly, there's some probably pieces that came and gone, and people are glad to see them go. So this isn't all the apparatus we've had over the years, but a good chunk of them. This is delivery of the 1961 truck right there. It's a front-mounted pump on a 42 tanker. The 66 Herrera. I believe that's the first fireboat that the town had. It's a 1968 used steel craft they had. And then they upgraded to a 1978 Pinion. And this is a 1991 Eastern 21-footer that retired in 2008. This is the 1978 Dodge Mini Pumper.
Wow.
That was actually stolen and driven through the Mirror Lake Fire Station. And they failed to open the door. So it did quite a bit of damage to the station when it left. It was actually driven to Wolfboro's old stump dump, and the gentleman set it ablaze, and the truck was a total loss. And the station was heavily damaged.
So did they catch him?
They did.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, they did.
Who was this?
The gentleman's name was, one of the gentlemen anyway, last name escapes me.
I don't know.
Fallon.
Yeah, his father owned the Lakeview Inn.
Yeah, it was the gentleman's name was Fallon.
Was he?
Paul.
I believe it was Paul Fallon that stole it. I'm sure that there was.
Was he a teenager? Or
Yeah, was he a teenager?
Yeah, they were teenagers.
Yeah.
age, 15.
And it was the year after that we started having a contingency fund in our budget.
Oh, yeah.
Because we had to pay for things before the insurance came through
Right.
and all of that.
Right. Yeah. So he drove it, and I remember it because he decided to come down Middle Road on 109A, and my dad was a firefighter in Wolfboro for many, many, many years. And I remember distinctly remembering seeing the red lights and sirens go by at my dad's house, and what's going on, because his Plectron didn't go off. It had to be coming from Tuftonboro, and so what's going on? But yeah.
Didn't they go down the power line, take it down that power
Yeah, I think
line?
so. It ended up behind the Wolfboro stump dump at the time, which is behind Wickers and GI Plastics now.
Right.
And he set it ablaze and torched it.
Were there more than one?
Yeah, he had,
Joyriding?
there was somebody with.
Oh yeah, I think I don't know if they ever caught the second person, but he never
they
turned
caught
it
him too.
He was a
I was
thief, but no rat.
Right. So
So what year was this? The 78? No.
this is the '78 pumper. I don't think that happened to like '80 or '80.
Yeah, it was around, I think it was 81.
Bet. But,
Stolen
I don't
81.
remember
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Under the picture.
yeah. Yeah, so a
So
little
is he
bit of
still in jail?
Actually, I think he just passed away.
Passed
Oh.
away.
Yeah,
Yeah. he
Bad
was
karma.
last.
yeah. And this is the 1982 truck that replaced it. And maybe Mr. Rollins can attest, but that truck was never the same.
That was the worst truck we ever bought. Steve was chief and I was deputy. After the other one was burned, there was a company in Florida called Emergency One that got the bid to build this. And Steve and I was going down to drive it back from Florida to Tuftonboro. Well, it was just about completed when we got there. It was a couple days and it was ready for a pump test, and took it outside and put the suction in and got water out of it, and it ran for like 3 or 4 minutes. And I just happened to look at the temperature gauge. Oh my God, it hasn't even run for 2 minutes, and the temperature gauge was way out. So what happened was, the story was, the pump shaft went through the radiator, so they took away a big percentage of the radiator so it wouldn't keep it cool. The other truck, the one that got burned, for some reason, when we ordered it, the pump was midship behind the doors, so it didn't involve the radiator. We built it differently, and that truck was never any good. You take it down on a Thursday night to pump water with it, and if it got dark, you could see right through the exhaust manifold. It was all red.
That's not that it's a. This truck is a 1998 Central States. We still have this truck. It's 10 engine 2, and the previous slide showed 10 engine 1, which we no longer have, was a 1992. But they're identical. They didn't change that much. We always called them the twins, forever. But yeah. So yeah, they called them twins. But it's interesting that over 6 or 8 years, they actually had the same. They haven't changed. You can do that today. They're completely different, 2 years apart. So. This is showing some of our forestry pieces we have had over the years. Most of the military surplus vehicles in the slides, they were on loan from the state of New Hampshire, Department of Forests and Lands, and there was no cost to have them, but the towns were responsible for all the maintenance of them and getting them running and things. And when you're done, you had to give them back, which is fine. The biggest problem with these is they were built for the military purposes, but they were all from, the 40s and 50s, and they were really problematic. Only a few people could drive them, and they were maintenance nightmares, and the brakes tend to fade on them. And there's stories of more than one fast ride down a hill with no brakes. This was a 1985 utility we had. You might see this truck running around town to this day. B.B. Moody & Son, the excavation contractor, they still have this truck in service as their utility truck, their service truck. You see it running around. And this is all the apparatus that we currently have in the inventory. That's the Chief's car. That's our newest engine. All right. The Tuftonboro Volunteer Fire Department transitioned from a volunteer organization to a municipal department in 1999. Today's department is a combination department with 2 full-time staff and approximately 21 call members, of which 10 of those are EMTs, 9 more are advanced EMTs, and 1 is a paramedic. So pretty much we're all cross-trained now in EMS and fire side because we do so much. So we have a very strong pool of talent right now, and this is a list of the Tuftonboro fire chiefs over the years. Yep. Yeah. Picture Bill Rawlins down in Florida picking up the engine.
Good job, Cal.
Nice hat, Bill.
Nice.
All business.
Yeah, that's right. We never did get to drive that home, actually. No, they had to, they sent it up to West Virginia to some speed shop to put in an extra radiator. Still been doing good. So Steve and I had to pay to fly us home again. So.
And this is a group of gentlemen that must have been at the dedication of the Melbourne, I believe it's Melbourne Fire Station. And those are the gentlemen in the picture.
Go back to the picture for a second.
Fred, should point out Fred, he's so
Fred's the
young.
fifth
He's like,
one.
I know, I got a picture.
Fifth one on, oh, look at
Fifth
him.
one in on the left.
Fifth in from the left.
Yeah,
Everyone on the left?
yeah,
Three.
with the plaid? Yeah, with the plaid.
Right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
Fred,
Right
Fred.
there.
And the next one
Oh,
is
it's
Norman
Jock
Reed.
Reed's father.
Oh, yeah.
Jock Reed's father, yeah.
Oh, that's
Roy
great.
Ridley.
Wow. That's great.
Crowley,
Yeah,
Roger
everybody
Davis,
works. Yeah. Okay,
Reggie
yeah.
Colby.
Kenny Craig's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kenny Craig.
Oh,
He was
Bruce
young,
Baldwin
too.
was in there, yeah.
Yeah, he's right next to
Yeah.
Kenny Craig.
Yeah, he is.
Jack Hyde.
Reggie Colby. He's the young guy.
Yeah.
Love it.
Wow, what year was that? 1966.
So it must have been the dedication of the Melbourne station, the new Melbourne station.
Oh, boy.
Look at this. There were hazmat suits?
Yeah, that was the first, I guess they called it the first Bonder team back then. So they had their Johnny Gage and Roy DeSoto outfit on.
Clint Morgan, Joe Reedy.
Steve Barry.
Kyle Hansen.
Who's the one beside behind Carl?
I believe it's Tim Howell.
Yeah, Tim
Oh,
Howell.
Tim Howell.
Yeah, Louis Dearborn's in there.
Wait, whoa,
I
where's
can remember all these people.
Tim Howell.
Carl.
Behind Carl, right in front of Louis Dearborn.
Oh, I got you,
Hansen.
I got you. Oh my gosh, look at
Bill
that.
Reedy.
Right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is
Carl
Carl.
Hansen, Kenny LeChuck,
Yeah.
Clint
Johnny
Morgan.
Bedford, he looks like he's
Johnny
Carl.
Bedford.
He
Oh,
does.
Steve
That must be a
Barry.
Newcomb.
No, that's Steve
No, Steve
Barry.
Barry.
Steve Barry, right.
Jerry Ward.
Doc Wood.
To kick some
Yeah.
butt.
Oh my gosh.
funny.
And that's from the 50th anniversary, 1998. A bunch of fellas are on there, a little cut off. But that picture is actually located on the big picture in the side room here.
Wow.
Hope you find it, Ralphie. But yeah, he's at least 50 years of service to his community between us and Moultonboro. So he's gentleman's dedicated his life to helping his community, and That's what he looked like back in 1988. That's what he looked like now.
That's no. That
Oh.
one's
No.
That was a classic.
Oh,
Yeah. Salt of the earth. He'll does anything you ask him without question. Always there. Give you the shirt off his back.
He'll help you unload your car too over at the recycling center.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So these are some various photos over the years. Deputy Piper right there is a young lad.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's the one on
Who's
the
the
right.
guy on the right with the hair?
I think that might be a young woman.
Oh, it's kind of like, sorry.
No, that's fine.
That looked like Kermit's
I
Hermits.
can't read it on my screen. But might be Kenny Greenwood's first wife.
Yeah, Lisa.
Oh, Lisa.
Yeah,
Oh,
Lisa, yeah,
oh,
Lisa.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Lisa Potenza.
All right, I don't know if it's Kenny. One of Kenny.
Yeah.
Kenny's wife.
Third.
I'm not sure which one. I don't know the chronological history there, but
Oh, boy.
Not go there.
Well, you could call him.
these are some pictures of Melvin Village under construction. I believe Alvin White did the site work for that.
Really? Rather than Reg.
I guess it was controversial.
Sam.
I guess it was.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Supervisors.
Yeah.
This is a training fire they had.
Yeah, Echo Farm down by Angelo's. It was on 109.
Across from Redgate,
There's a little
house there
little
now.
gate there now, but that
Oh, okay.
Echo Farm was there.
Close
Lilacs.
Closed 109 for the.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Great Shaw
goodness.
Fire.
Yeah, 1953, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Yoss Mountain of the Great Shaw Fire,
Oh,
1953.
You can see results from that.
And anybody who spends any time up there or whatever, you can still see where the fire went.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Different. What's that?
She's teasing you.
I didn't fight that one.
You know that.
What started that?
I don't know.
Probably
I think it was a lightning strike.
Well, it
Dry
was a
year.
dry year, and they had fires over on Ospey Lake that year around.
Yeah, the Brownfield fire
Yeah. a
by
bunch
the
of
box
fires.
mill, which is now International Paper, whatever. They had a fire there that burned to Maine. Well into Maine. Actually, that one might have actually burned to the coast.
I think that was a few years before.
Before, right. But they had fires. It was a bad year. They had fires all around. That was the biggest one in this area. They ended up mobilizing the National Guard.
Then after that, they built these big wooden boxes that there was one at the intersection of Sodom Road and
Yep.
171
I remember those when I was
that
a
had
Back-
forest fire
Yeah.
Backpack.
apparatus in it.
Yeah, tools and
Well,
backpack
backpacks for water.
Yeah.
But that burned for, how long did that burn for?
It was a while because they
Yeah,
used to
long
come over, they came to our house and the ladies all came and made sandwiches and food for them. And
Right,
they had
right.
relays of hiking it up there because there wasn't any equipment to get up there. They had to walk.
Yeah. It was scary to watch even from a distance.
Yeah.
I remember being scared of my father when he came home with his face was all black from the soot. I do. It's my
Were you
earliest
old?
memory.
Two
It's my
years old.
It's my earliest memory, and being scared of it.
A little sketchy on that one.
I'm serious.
Good, John.
So here are some newspaper clippings. On December 3rd, 1965, the firemen did a show for the Tuftonboro Historical Society.
Wow.
Maybe you could reenact it.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, this is an unknown island fire. Which island it was?
Maybe it's not there anymore.
Right. Yeah, well involved.
Holy cow!
Wow.
And it's possibly Loon Island which is off
Oh, for
the
cow.
Wolfboro end of Cow Island, just by the topography.
Yeah.
We're kind of trying to figure it out. And so it could be Loon Island, but you know if anybody in here might remember it. Or
Mary?
No.
That's 6 months old.
You know what year that was?
what's that?
Bill Williams.
I haven't asked him now. It's another training fire.
Yeah, that looks
That's
like
a
a
good
farm.
Yeah.
I know area departments were around because that's
Yeah.
Dr. Kip right there was a deputy in Wolfboro for years and years and years. Also my dentist, but
Yeah.
The state allowed 109 to be closed for that whole day.
wow.
Yeah.
Wouldn't happen today.
I know.
Yeah.
An old picture of
Yeah, that might be.
just a mishap on the lake in 2005.
Oops.
Yep.
This is actually this spring where we effected a rescue of some 3 people over near Tuftonboro.
Long Island.
Yeah, the Harilla Landing.
Yeah.
And this is members of our department received recognition from the state of New Hampshire this month or so ago for another rescue they effected off the south end of Rattlesnake Island. They saved a gentleman. Unfortunately, his son was perished in the accident, but they were recognized for their outstanding service and what they did that day. Just a picture off of Pier 19.
Be careful backing up off of that.
Yeah.
Just training picture, and the Dearborn property was still there. This shows our utility training with New Hampshire National Guard on a joint exercise up in Conway. Practicing auto extrication. Another training fire. I believe that's the chicken coop / machine shop behind the Dearborn property. Another training fire. This is the old director's house at Camp Belknap.
Oh, I didn't realize you burned that. I saw it taken down.
Practicing our boat operations on the islands. Just some fire prevention shot at the school. Every year the department does make contact with all the children at Tuftonboro School, kind of reinforce fire safety and public education. Getting back into service after a garage fire they had down in Sawyer Point Road. Doing some winter pumping up at the mill pond. Practicing cold water training. More training last year. This is just a shot of another building burn we did down at one of the Pequod building down in Camp Belknap. They took it down and rebuilt it as a same footprint, just a new building. Kind of a fun shot. It shows one of our captains looking at his son. So, and that concludes our show, our presentation. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions or would like to answer?
What do you use boat 3 for?
We use boat 3 to access the small ponds. Cops Pond, Melvin Pond, Danhole Pond. In a hurry, just a utility boat. that if we can't get another boat in there, we can just grab that and enough people can get muck onto it and get it out there.
This one. You showed the numbers in terms of the fire calls and EMS. It seemed like it was a little bit more EMS, but sort of split kind of down the middle-ish.
Yeah, over the years, yeah, we're probably 60-40 or so.
Yeah.
I could figure out the exact math. But yeah, EMS is eclipsing fire calls by a lot now.
When did EMS start? Was that from the beginning, from 1938?
I don't believe so, no.
No.
I think the EMS really started here, probably in Mr. Rollins might know, but late 70s.
You saw the guys with the white suits on?
Right.
Steve Berry was chief then, so when he first started.
Yeah, early 80s, they started doing like a first responder team.
You think it's about 60-40 now?
If not more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says Steve Berry chief 80 to 82.
Yeah, it was in
83.
that, that era there.
Yeah, Wolfboro, they also started a rescue squad there. The same time
They
frame.
were in the 60s.
They were earlier.
They were earlier, yeah.
Because Peter Hayes
Peter
started
Hayes.
that.
Yeah, Ben Ladd was
And
involved
it
in
was
that.
shortly after Kingswood opened, because he was one
Okay.
of the first teachers
We
there.
used to
and
have to
started-
leave school.
Right.
I rode with him a few
No,
times.
Tuftonboro was quite, yeah. Tuftonboro was quite a bit
Or quite a bit later, yeah.
I think EMS today is, somebody breaks their thumb.
I know.
They
It's
call
an EMS call.
911 to get a ride instead of getting in the car and driving.
Driving yourself there with
Yeah. But that's
Then they get the
the
bill.
way that people are today.
Yeah.
Compared to back in the 60s, 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Right, and some of the numbers, you know, we have EMS calls, fire calls, and like that, but we
There must
don't.
be some that are combinations.
They are.
too.
Like I was just gonna say that. Yeah, like we consider in our town, we consider an auto accident as a fire call.
Oh, really?
And, right, and if there's patients,
Yeah.
then that would be a fire call. It's not a separate M number, like a medical number.
And that's because the car could.
If car, maybe we don't know if there's any injuries there or whatever.
Yeah.
So we just get toned out to a car accident.
Yeah.
So
And the car could catch fire, so.
Or a fuel spillage or
fuel
something.
spill or bad, no one's hurt.
Right.
But if somebody's hurt, we don't add a run. Like we don't say, you know, we had a fire call and an EMS call.
Right, it's one.
We just
run.
keep
It's
it
one or
one
the
call.
other.
Right.
Yeah.
There are area towns that have a car accident, and then if they have 4 people, they have 4 more medical calls.
Wow.
So
I
it's,
remember then you guys responding when I had flooding too.
oh
There
yeah,
was no fire or EMS involved, it just was
No.
flooding.
that would probably be at the time probably an F number. I'd have to look back, but and then we have service calls and special details and things. But it's amazing. Her window was underwater because I was in her basement and the river was above us.
Oh, no.
Like, huh? There's an old window. Yeah.
Yeah,
The river was high.
I was trying to think, what's the young, at the time, he was really young, he was like only 18 or something, the red hair, and now he's like a
Williams.
lieutenant.
Kyle?
Yeah.
Kyle?
Kyle,
He's not lieutenant, but yeah, Kyle. Yep.
and he went down in the basement anyway with all the water to put the hose up through the window so he could start pumping.
Thank you, Caleb.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.